This is not about shame and blame. This is about changing the game. It's well known cancer is the leading cause of death in Canada. It's well known heart disease is the second leading cause of death in Canada. What's not well known, and in fact is a well-kept secret, is that the third leading cause of death in Canada is medical error. Medical errors. So if cancer or heart disease doesn't kill you, there's a chance our healthcare system could. One in 18 patients hospitalized in Canada will experience harm that will either kill them or leave them in worse condition than when they went into the hospital. Now, keeping medical errors a secret hasn't been difficult. There is no requirement for medical errors to be reported to any one specific regulatory body. Our healthcare professionals and institutions can deal with harm internally. They can keep the secret. And a lot of patients don't even realize when they've been harmed by our healthcare system. And a lot of patients don't report it. Now, the aviation and mining industries, they are required to report all errors, accidents, and deaths to one specific regulatory body. And because they do, they've been able to collect and analyze data, make the changes necessary to dramatically improve safety in those industries. So don't you think it's time changes were made to our healthcare system to ensure consistent and effective reporting practices were put into place to improve patient safety, to eliminate medical error as the third leading cause of death in our country. I grew up just outside of Toronto, and when I was 15, I became the expert in finding out all the secrets my family kept. I just had to sneak into the living room and hide outside the kitchen door and listen to my mom and my aunties talk while they were having tea, or whatever else was in that teacup. They talked all the time about all the sins and all the sinners in our family. So I knew which kid had been caught smoking. And I knew which cousin was having sex. Hell, I knew the bra size of all my aunties. But one day, I got more than I bargained for. My Auntie Doreen burst out in tears and told my mother she was afraid of turning 40. She was afraid of turning 40 because she was afraid of dying of a heart attack like their mother did when she turned 40. That was news to me. And that had nothing to do with sin, cigarettes, or sex. It was my mom, though, that should have been afraid. It was my mom who died later that year of a heart attack at the age of 36. Now, I never knew why my mom and my grandmother died of heart attacks so young. Death wasn't a topic discussed in front of children. And in those days, we didn't question authority. Not our parents, not our teachers, not our priest, and definitely not our doctor. But it wasn't hard for me to figure out that whatever it was that killed my mom and grandmother, it was hereditary. This was genetic. And it wasn't hard to figure out that this was not a secret that should be kept. This needed to be shared with our doctors. Now, when I finally turned 40, I threw a huge party to celebrate the fact that I had survived the family curse. But it didn't last very long. Because when I turned 42, I got the flu, and my health started to deteriorate. I became exhausted all the time, but my doctor could not find anything wrong. Her rationale was that I worked too much. But within 6 months, I had packed on 25 pounds and started to sweat like crazy. Now, I didn't weigh 100 pounds until I was 30 years old, so putting on that much weight in such a short amount of time threw up some red flags. So the doctor referred me to a gynecologist. Because, when in doubt, blame your period, right? But there was nothing gynecologically wrong with me. Then my chest got very congested, and it wouldn't clear up. It got so bad, you could hear me gurgle when I talked. But my doctor couldn't find anything wrong. So she sent me to an allergist. Tests were all negative. When my son's 7th birthday rolled around, I had been going back and forth to doctors for 8 months without any answers, and I was getting sicker. I didn't have enough strength or breath to help Joey blow the birthday candles out on his cake. The following week, I went to the doctor 3 times. Sure, I had pneumonia. Something was wrong, but she couldn't find anything wrong. So in desperation, I asked her to send me for a chest x-ray. And that's when I got the answer. I was in heart failure. At emergency, they told me my heart was enlarged, my lungs were full of fluids, my blood pressure was skyrocketing, and my resting heart rate was well over 200 beats a minute. They were surprised I had not gone into cardiac arrest, and had I gone into cardiac arrest, I would have died. I know now my doctor did not follow the standards of practice. I mean, what the hell? How did she miss all the signs of congestive heart failure? And had she even taken into account my deadly family heart history? Because if she had, certainly to God, she would have been sending me to a cardiologist, not a gynecologist. But at the time, I didn't question her authority. And I didn't report it. Mistakes. I couldn't worry about how this had happened to me. I needed to focus on how I was going to recover. I did not want my son to lose his mom like I lost mine and like she lost hers. So once I had been stabilized, the hospital referred me to a cardiologist who ran tests and told me the flu virus had gone into my heart and caused some damage, which is likely why my mother and grandmother had both died, because yes, in fact, it is genetic. So the game plan was to slow my heart down, lower my blood pressure with medications, and put me to bed for 1 year to rest my heart so it could heal. And it worked. Within 2 years, I had made a full recovery, rare as it was. But it didn't last very long. When the cardiologist instructed my doctor to start tapering my medications, my doctor didn't monitor my blood pressure properly and took down my medications too low, too fast. And I went into heart failure again. This time I did not make a full recovery. And along with losing my health, I lost my business and eventually my marriage. This time, I called the College of Physicians and Surgeons and I reported all the mistakes. It's not about shame and blame. It's about changing the game. I needed answers. I needed a new doctor. And I needed to know that something would get done to ensure nobody else was put through what I went through. See, if we don't report medical errors, who's going to know about them? The aviation and mining industries have shown us that proper reporting practices results in improved safety. It's time to transform our healthcare culture from one of secrecy to one of transparency. Health Canada and the World Health Organization have committed to making patient safety a priority. They have opened the doors for patients to have their voices heard, for patients to be part of the change. This is our chance to speak up and force that change right now. We are all patients. Don't wait until you or one of your loved ones have been harmed by our healthcare system to advocate for patient safety. The most important step you need to take is to become proactive in your own health care and in the health care of your loved ones. And if you do experience harm, you must report it. It's not about shame and blame. This is about changing the game. Thanks. Thank you.